Right, let's head to the Northwest. And if you remember 3 weeks ago,
Here we fucking go. Go on.
this man said that he didn't like being at the bottom. So I put him at the top, and for good reason. And I'll tell you why. Because the Denver Nuggets are actually rolling right now. They went 3-0 last week. They're 21-15 overall. Respect where it's due. And Jokic, MVP candidate, legit. So, Lancashire Lambert, talk to me about those Nugs.
Yes, the Nuggets, Jokic, All-Star. Didn't really do too much, but that doesn't matter. So they're obviously 3-0 this week, and now sixth and a comfortable sixth in the West. Actually only half a game behind Portland, so it's pretty much just them and Portland just jostling it out for fifth and sixth. So that's the base. I don't think they're ever going to finish lower than that. It's just how high they can finish now for the rest of the season. But yeah, these last three wins of late, a great win against the Bulls, 118-112. Jokic, 39 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, incredible. And then shout out Michael Porter Jr. as well, 17 points, 15 rebounds in that game too. And then they absolutely demolished the Bucks in the next game, 128-97. Like, it's not often that you're going to see the Bucks get absolutely whacked like that. Jokic gets 37 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, his 50th triple-double. He's the fastest center to get to 50 triple-doubles in NBA history. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the third quickest player of all time to get to 50 triple-doubles. So yeah, he's an absolute machine, and he's having an unbelievable season. And then they go and beat the Pacers 113-103, in which the likes of Jokic and Murray actually I think were negative. They were -2 and -3. And it was actually the bench that probably won them that game. Like Dozier, I think finished +31. Nagy, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was like a +16. Yeah. So yeah, that was a game. Even like the games are a little bit tighter, they're still managing to grind out those wins. And since they lost 3 games on the bounce versus the Kings, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Bucks at the start of Feb, they've since then won 8 of the last 12, and 2 of those defeats have been against my Wizards. So they're even losing against the right teams. So they're doing great right now.
Yeah, Jokic is a man on a mission, and I just love his play. Like, it's almost like he gets to his spot and there's nothing you can do about it because he's got such a high arcing shot. And the way he's finding his teammates, he's playing really well. But there's another guy who we've sort of forgotten about, and we're talking about getting consistency and rekindling his form. Well, Jamal Murray in the last 10 games, he's averaging 30 points per game, 5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. He's also got a shooting split of 57% from field goal, 50% from free, and he's also shooting 92% from the line. So are we seeing a return of Bubble Murray, is what I'm going to call it, Bubble Murray?
Yeah, I actually had a look into those stats too. And another thing that I noticed in that, which was a bit interesting, was he's actually having 1 more turnover per game in the last 10 games than he is versus like the rest of the season. And he's shooting 4 more shots from the field and 2 more from behind the arc. So he's taking a bit more risks. He's playing with a bit more confidence, which is probably why he's found this great run of form. And if Murray can play with that confidence and continue that for the rest of the season, you've got Michael Porter Jr. if he finds form. And obviously Jokic is playing at this elite level, and he has been for God knows how long. The Nuggets, don't sleep on them. They've got a good base to again go far in the playoffs. There's no reason why a Lakers drop off again, or the Clippers casual choke as usual, that the Nuggets can go and get to that Western Conference Finals again, and maybe even the finals if with a bit of luck.
Well, we all know what to do to inspire Jamal Murray, and that's, it wasn't the girlfriend.
Don't bring that up.
He went off because he knew that if he got to the next round, his girlfriend could come.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's being aggressive. That's great.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow.
He's being aggressive. He's taking more risk. He has to do that. He's the second best player on that team, and if they're going to go anywhere, he needs to he needs to be performing at that bubble standard. And Michael Porter Jr., like you said, kudos to him. He's stepping up. He's being that player that they think he can be. You potentially might see that out of RJ Hampton, who was another steal. It seems like Nuggets go after these type of players who are sort of like a high risk, high reward. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Nuggets are rolling.
Quick question. I mean, it's not part of it, but just interesting. What's happening with Bol? Is he getting much time? Like, what's happening with him?
That is a good question. I have not heard.
I've not really seen anything about. He's played 15 games.
That's not many.
He's just not in the rotation.
DMPCD.
It's like one game off. It's like one game playing like 3 or 4 games off by the looks of it. Yeah.
That's some sort of load management. Golly.
Yeah, maybe it's like Taco Fall. Maybe you just need to set him loose, man. Let the boy play. Like, because also if I'm the Celtics, just quickly, I'm letting Taco Fall with nothing's working. Just put him on. Let's see what happens.
I mean, look, the second half of the season, we're about to see some weird. We're about to see 7 guys you've never heard of. The only players available for some of these games. It's about to get weird, isn't it?
Let's move from a team who has been rolling to a team that has not gained any momentum whatsoever. They have been at a standstill for the whole season. They're 0-2 this week. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Bray, had only 7 wins this season.
The only team to not get 10 wins in the league, which is good. And this week they passed a historic milestone. They are they have the worst winning percentage of any American professional franchise. Like me,
who did they surpass?
Huh?
Do you know who they surpassed?
Who just won the Super Bowl?
Oh, Tampa Bay. Yes, yeah, Tampa Bay had an awful record.
Tampa are just above them overall as a franchise.
And they've got 2 Super Bowls. And they've got 2 Super Bowls in their history.
Yeah.
Wow.
Madness. They're in dire straits. Their season has never really started because Cat's been injured. D'Lo has been injured. They fired their coach because it wasn't working. And now, as a result of the misdemeanor, which we talked about last time, Malik Beasley does now have a 12-game suspension. That one's going to hurt the old pocket. But it's bad news for the Timberwolves because not only is their defense worse than Team Durant.
What?
Their defense is so bad. Oh. It's not.
Is that statistic?
It's not statistically.
Okay.
But honestly, they play defense like you saw in that All-Star game. So yeah, they can't score without Malik Beasley. Like he scores. He doesn't know how to put the ball in the basket. I'll give him that. So yeah, they're going to struggle with him being out, and they don't really have anything. It's a bit dire at the moment for Timberwolves fans, if there's any left.
Yeah, normally we talk about the team's games, but they haven't been going really well. So I'm actually not going to talk about the games. Maybe next time we cover them, they might have a couple of wins. But let's go a bit left field and let's talk about some Timberwolves news. Now, as you guys know, because we talked about it on our group chat, is Kevin Garnett called out the Timberwolves owner on Insta and said that the process of him buying the team was over. He talked about the owner, Glenn Taylor, said that he was his normal self, and he was just annoyed that he wasn't allowed to join what he built, meaning because KG spent a long time there, he ended up helping build the franchise. Should he have a chance to own this team, Bray?
I think so. So for background, Glenn Taylor's been trying to sell this team for basically a year now. Allegedly, there hasn't been much interest because of COVID. Also, I think probably the Timberwolves are one of the worst franchises in the league. So, I mean, they're still an NBA franchise, so you would hope that people want to buy them. And then for KG to partner up with a couple of billionaires and come in to submit a bid, I'd be jumping at that. If you're trying to get rid of this team, like surely you get rid of it to someone who who's
Loves it.
just done so much and is such a big face and will be so invested in running the team. Now, it might be we'll see what comes out. It might be a case that the numbers didn't make sense because obviously KG, as wealthy as he is going to be partnering with some people as part of a group to buy this, as is often the case. There are very few people like Steve Ballmer, for example, in the world who can afford to just go and slap down the deposit for an NBA team. So it might be a case of that, but I'm disappointed personally. I love KG. He's just such a cool guy, so intense. He's so well known. It's the sort of person. He is a one of one. You don't get someone like KG around, both mentally and also what he did on the court. So it's disappointing. I hope that they get an owner change. I hope it's someone who's willing to come in, spend money, and overhaul the way they're being run, because obviously we can see it's not working.
Great point. Also, for any listeners out there, go watch Jimmy Kimmel's interview with KG. Best 12 minutes you'll ever get. Such a feel-good interview. He talks about his book, which will be coming out, and I'll hopefully get it on audiobook, because listening to KG just talk about whatever, sign me up. Let's talk about another team who are 500 this week. They won 1-1, and they're a team, considering their lack of depth within their roster, is actually having a pretty good season, 15-21 overall, and that is the OKC Thunder. Wildy, take it away.
Absolutely, massively overperformed for what even the owners thought they would do, to be honest. They just got a really nice young core, and they all really, they give a crap and, they want to play well. So, I mean, they, lost to the Mavs. Mavs didn't have Luka, so bit of a weird result there. Porzingis had a good game on them, and unfortunately they weren't able to score enough against the Mavs in order to pull that win out. Unfortunately, but had a really nice bounce back win against the Spurs. SGA got 33 points and 8 assists, and they were down in the fourth to come back and win that. So SGA just continues to prove himself. Really like that kid, and also a big Lou Dort fan. And Mike Muscala, 18 points, baby, on the Spurs. Woo!
You're going to start a Lou Dort fan club. I love Lou Dort.
I love Lou Dort, and I love Mike Muscala. Both had good games against Spurs.
Mike Muscala gets my stat line of the week. Oh, no. Like you said, he did. Yes, he got it. He got it because I've got to give him credit, right? 18 points, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. I'm rewarding that. He's been a surprise spot, but in that Spurs game, let's not mistake, Shea won him that game. And that's a tough place to win in San Antonio on the road. And I think the Thunder actually have a better record on the road than they do at home, which is really interesting and shows a lot of resolve within their team. Wildy, I actually want to talk something about the team in general. So a couple of insights about the Thunder is that they ranked 6th defensively in February, and now they're 13th overall. So they've really improved that side of the ball. And then you've also got the Thunder are 8-4 against other teams which are actually below 500. So the similar teams that we projected them to be up against. What surprises you more, the fact that they're doing well really defensively, or they're beating the teams that they should be beating around them?
What surprises me more is the defense. I definitely think that the potential was always there for it when you have somebody like an Al Horford who isn't a very athletic guy, but is very big. So his basketball IQ on the defensive end is really good. So as long as the young guys are listening to him, I think they always had that potential to be better defensively than people might have had them ranked. Also being a young team as well, you would assume that they would have a lot more holes. But honestly, I think that's a bigger surprise. In terms of the other point, given the kind of personalities that they have on the team, it's not as surprising that they're beating teams that they should be beating, basically, because they have a good closer. They know who they are, basically. SGA is the main man. He leads them in majority of their categories. He has the ball at the end of the game. So, and at the other end of the floor, everyone works their tail off on defense. So they're in terms of my 6 teams, they're in like my top 3 to watch them. I've taken to these guys.
Nice, man. Yeah, the thing that I love about them is they're challenging what the expectation is of them, and they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's be real here. But the fact that they're putting up quality wins, this puts them in good stead when they put those draft picks to use, and moving forward within their future. And like we all know, Sam Presti is going to have a lot of seats at the drafts for many years to come. He's just going to be there by himself. Yeah. I've just realised. So we had Bray had a winless week last week, and it had never happened before, and it's happened again. The House of Elves. Ed has gone 0-4 this week. The Utah Jazz, the best team in the league, went 0-2 this week. Ed, what's happening? Is it crumbling? Is House Lasky? Is the castle coming down?
Last time I checked, we're all top on everything. So yeah, it's just for us. It's just nothing. It's just.
Oh, your modesty never surprises me. Anyway, let's talk about the Jazz.
Yes. So the boys down there in Salt Lake City, the ones who got snubbed for the All-Star picks, which was a bit of a flaky response from LeBron. But
how do you feel about that? Did that? I mean, it's not your team, but did it hurt?
So I spoke to Alex about this over the weekend, and obviously when I was watching the draft, there was only one thing I cared about, and that's that Vooch wasn't picked last, which was great because he wasn't. He was picked 4th from last, so it's kind of good he wasn't picked last. So he got a bit more respect. But low key, part of me thinks is with NBA beef, I don't know what's still on and off, and I don't know if KD and Kendrick Perkins do still have a beef. But anytime you watch Kendrick Perkins talk about Vucevic, he just absolutely butchers the name, and I feel sometimes he's got no idea what he's talking about. So I think maybe KD just picked Vooch in spite of Perkins to show that he could pronounce his name. But anyway, that's just my mini theory on it, which doesn't really matter. But from a Utah perspective, I'm hoping that both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell are really motivated by this and take it personally. That's what I really hope. But and I was saying to Alex, I hope that Donovan Mitchell can turn into Black Widow Spider Mitchell instead of just Spider Mitchell. That can really take up another gear. I don't think he is. I don't think he'll take it that sort of way. I mean, you saw he was pissed off again in the Philly game, but after that, he was all cool with Embiid and was that sort of, it's fine, like whatever. He was pissed off at the rest, but he was cool with Embiid, which I don't know. I'd like him to have that bit of edge. That's what I'm hoping will happen with Utah. And even the All-Star weekend, I mean, it was all happy and ha. But I'm just hoping that Utah can get a killer instinct. Which you
want him to be an arsehole.
Exactly.
What the greats do, yeah.
But then saying that, Utah are still top 5 in offensive defensive rating. They're still an absolute monster and a team to watch out for in the playoffs, hopefully. So last time we spoke, they were 22-5. Now they're 27-9. So still don't have double-digit losses yet. They went 5-4, but as Alex said, 0-2 in the last week. And some of those games, they split games against the 76ers and the Clippers. But they had losses against the Heat and the Pelicans, but did beat the Lakers. So a couple positive games, a couple less so. One thing I did read actually the other day was it's against the Heat. Utah allowed the least amount of shots within the paint and 3. So they allow the most shots from the 2-point range, which is in the day of analytics, that's what you want to achieve. And part of the reason why Miami beat Utah is because they were 55% from the mid-range. And that was the key to then getting that victory. So Utah do a very, very good job of running players off the 3-point line. But then if you do that, if you do go towards the paint, there's that French geezer there in the middle who's going to cause havoc.
I've been speaking with our good friend of the pod, Mr. Ultra, and we're going to throw a little bit of slander on the Jazz's name because I did watch that Philly game, and they're a really tough team to defend. But I feel like I think that they're relying too much on the 3-point shot, and I've got some stats to back it up, and I just want your thoughts on this, Ed. So they're first in the league at 3 points attempted at 42.8, and they're third in 3-point percentage at just under 40%.
Yep.
And they really depend on it. And I just think, are they going to live and die by the 3? they've got a lot of people, a lot of weapons that can shoot the ball, and we've seen that how it can be effective. But we can also see, remember when the Rockets, a team that heavily relied on the 3-point shot in Game 7, look at how it went left. Do you think it's going to be something that goes against them moving forward?
So hold on, give me a sec. So I was just chatting to Donovan there, and he was telling me, pretty much about their scheme and what was going on. So when you mentioned up Utah's 3-point shooting, I thought, let me have a bit of a deep dive into this. And Utah have got the most percentage of their points from 3 in the league. So 44% of their points has come from the 3-point line. And I was looking at it a bit more. And so there's 3 teams that 40% of their points come from 3. That's Utah, Portland, and Toronto. And I was looking at how much of them are assisted, because the thinking is that if they're high percentage are assisted, they're more ball movement, usually an open shooter, rather than if it's less, it feels a bit more ISO. So out of the 3, Portland have got the least amount that assisted, and you can understand that with Dame, he will take a lot of threes off the dribble, and Toronto have the most, so 83% of their threes are assisted. So again, Toronto, as you can imagine, a lot of ball movement, kick out to the open guy. Utah in the middle, so 75% of their threes are assisted. So it's a little bit of ISO and it's a little bit of ball movement. Now, the reason I say that is because I don't feel they are necessarily too reliant on it. You do see the stats, and throughout the whole year, Utah do have the most amount of threes, and you do see that they are reliant on them. I do think they do have different levels to their scoring, especially in the pick and roll game. And I love Utah's pick and roll game and the amount of points they can cause because of that. I was looking at Jordan Clarkson, and he's 8th in the league in points from pick and roll possessions as the ball handler, which is really good for him considering the other players are on that list. So I do hope they utilize the pick and roll more because of their ability to have the ball handlers that they do have: Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Donovan Mitchell, and Rudy Gobert as a screener, and other players as screeners. And I think that will help wanting to get the playoffs, and then things start to slow down a bit more. But this has been the time when they've come across the most adversity. I'd like to see how they bounce back from this, and if they change things up, what happens thereafter.
Yeah, great point about the ball movement. Let's close out the Northwest. Jordan, it's time, baby. He hit down the game-winning shot in the All-Star game, Dame Dollar. And the Portland Trailblazers are also rolling. They are 3-0 this week. Look at Jordy, so happy. Look at him, so happy. He's 21-14 overall. So just a smidge ahead of the Nuggets. Jordan, talk to me about your Blazers.
Yeah, man. You know me, House of 03. Nothing we like more than going 3-0. Okay, well, probably higher than 3-0, but still, you get what I'm trying to say.
I get you.
So they closed out February with 4 straight losses, and now in March, it seems like they're coming back with vengeance with 3 straight wins, which of course I'm happy with. It brings their current record to 21-14. So since CJ McCollum has been injured, the Blazers have been 13-9. So that was a really good stat, which I was hoping for. As I've mentioned before, I'm typically worried for when one of the Blazers' key players goes out, that the extra effort needs to be placed on Lillard. So it's nice to see a pickup from more of the roster, such as Melo and Fernie Simons and Gary Trent Jr. as well, who've really been balling out for the Blazers, I feel, with that. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice, man. It's really nice.
Yeah, you brought up the squad. So yeah, since CJ was sidelined, a lot of your players have stepped up. So you've got Gary Trent. He's averaging 17 points per game. Carmelo, 15 points per game, normally off the bench. Simons, who was in the dunk contest. Boys got hops. 10 points per game. I know you shouted him out before he went viral with kissing the rim. And then you've got Enes Kanter averaging 13 and 13. 13 points, 13 rebounds. But Jordan, which CJ comes back, right? let's just talk about this. Which contribution is the most sustainable moving forward? Like which would fit easily in, like transferable to your normal starting lineup with Nurk, with CJ?
So I think with that, obviously CJ is gonna be taking over that shooting guard position, and I believe like the replacement lineup, which is the current lineup which are running for starting position, is Lillard, Trent, Jones, Covington, and Cantor. So I think, what were the options again? Did you say? Sorry.
Gary Trent, Melo, Cantor, Simons.
Although I really like Simons, and I think he is deserving of more of those opportunities, I don't think performance-wise he is quite there yet for the numbers the Blazers are looking for overall to make that significant difference. Melo, again, much love for Melo, but he has proven in the previous games that he can turn back the clock every now and then and drop like 20 or 28, 29 like he's done in the Hornets game, which he played against Melo, the Melo Center as it became. So for me, I think I would be leaning more towards Trent Jr. I think that, I'm not sure if that will surprise most people, but for me, I think with Trent, his numbers overall have been more consistent in terms of the game to game. So I think with that mixing, even though I'm not sure like size-wise how it make up, but I think it would overall, with the numbers which he's putting up, it'll work better and it'll have more of that consistency and that consistent flow of performances which we're looking for overall.
Yeah, so the Blazers win against the Hornets, like you said, in the Battle of the Mellows, and then Lillard hits a lovely game winner against Steph and the Warriors in that second game, and then they beat the Kings, which was a close game, and Fox tried to mount a comeback, but Cantor, nut stat line. Maybe this was my stat line of the week. He had 22 points, 21 rebounds. Boy's an animal. Why didn't I pick him up on fantasy? I'm really annoyed.
That's just classic Cantor.
Yeah.
That's just classic Enes Cantor, though.
Yeah, classic Cantor. Yeah, is there anything else you want to speak on the Blazers, George? Anyone else you want to shout
out? No, like I think.
Can we not talk about Carmelo's no rim game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was just ridiculous.
Like absolutely insane. It was everyone going in. That's
the most.
Yeah,
it was so satisfying to watch. It was just such a pleasant watch.
His jumper is so nice.
Every time you see those performances from Melo, like it brings a tear to my eye. Like I'm like, yes, turn back the clock. Memories, childhood memories. I love it. But yeah, he's just great to watch, and I think you really got to love that effort he's put in. And like you mentioned about that pod, Alex, where he talks about from where it was hard for him to even like find a team, to see him click so well with the Blazers. I absolutely love. So yeah. Blazer for that.
Yeah, just a note for all you guys. Make sure you go check out the Melo pod with Woj, where he talks about his transition and how he's moved on with the Blazers. That's a really good listen. Right, here we go. We've wrapped up the two division discussions, and we're going to move to the leaderboard, where it's been a really positive week for a lot of you. Some, not some others. Right, let's start off with the Salt. In 5th place, Saltbury, you haven't moved. 85 and 128. You are 39.9%. You're literally just below 40. Your best team is the Boston Celtics, who, like you said, have gone on a little bit of a run, and Minnesota are killing you. Now, Lancashire Lambert, 101 to 110. 48%. That is really good considering where you were. You have done really well. Your best team is the Denver Nuggets, and your worst team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Wildy, well done, bro. You are over the 500 mark, which is great because
welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take a seat. Take a seat.
I was waiting for somebody to chirp up.
Yeah, you are 107 wins to 106 losses, so just above. But Wildy,
I'm like this above water, man.
but Wildy, this is really important. We've had a change to the sandwich. There's no Philly cheesesteak. No, there's no Philly cheesesteak.
Lay on the deli.
It's a desert burger because it's Phoenix. Phoenix and Phoenix are at the top.
I love it.
They've got a better record than Philly, which is less crispal.
I love it.
Yeah.
Second in the West. Second in the
Detroit,
West.
yeah, that's madness. That is
It
so
is.
good. And also Monty Williams, shout out to him because they've continued on since the bubble. Mad, really good.
100%.
Your worst team is Detroit, as we talked. That is an absolute shambles. House of 03, 54%. You 117 wins, 97 losses. Your worst team, the Pels. Your best team tied are the two-headed dragon of the Brooklyn Nets and the Lakers. Jesus, that's worrying. I think that's the two best teams in the NBA.
That's scary. That's scary right there.
Yeah, but Jordan, I'm having to stop you. You don't have those teams locked in. You are going to be losing one of those teams, maybe both.
I know.
And I think his lead at the top has trimmed, and we did have a conversation earlier, Ed. You said you are a bit worried. I don't know if he's just playing into this whole.
What a little rat! God, I tell you
drama.
stuff in confidence, and then you go airing out all my laundry. All right, say no more, my G. Cool.
Go speak to Donovan. You know,
Oh,
if you got any problems, Donovan's in the room.
Yo, Quinn, where you at?
Be careful, Quinn, in your bedroom. That's a bit worrying.
That's scary, man. That's a horror film.
Yeah, Ed, 123 wins, 92 losses. Your best team is the Clips, and your worst team is the Magic.
It's just easy. ABC 1, 2, 3. It's just so easy.
We are at the 50% mark. I'm not even going to react to that. We're at the 50% mark, guys. He's gone. Yeah, so leaderboard, a little bit of changes. I mean, really good marks for Lancashire Lambert and One Bar Wildy. They're moving. They're putting the pressure on. That's what I like to see.
Games played of adding up as well. There's only like 2 difference max, or 4 games max between all of us. Like a lot of games have been caught up.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see how this all develops. When we do division discussions next week, we're back with the 2 most popular divisions. It comes around so quickly. So yeah, we'll be talking about Atlantic and Pacific as we move into the second half of the season, where the games really start to matter. So yeah, that is from Sick Man, myself, and the rest of the GMs. It's over and out this week.
Peace.
Ciao.
See ya.